In this video, we're talking all about Smuggler's Run in Galaxy's Edge. Should there be an age limit if you want to pilot the Falcon? There was an interesting article the other day by Mr. Robert Niles. We're going to talk about it, break it down, give our take on this subject. I got Mr. Michael Webber in the house up next on OG 5055. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another edition of OG 55. We have our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Mr. Webber, in the house. Mr. Webber, welcome back, sir.
OG, thank you so much again for having me on, sir. It is always a pleasure. Always have a blast with you guys on here, and I'm so happy to be back and to talk about this topic.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, let's dive into this, man. This is crazy. This has been the talk of Twitter for like, I don't know, past couple days, I guess,
Yeah.
right? Let's break this down. This is from Mr. Robert Niles of Theme Park Insider. Okay. Hot take debate. Disney needs new rules for its Millennium Falcon. Proposed for your consideration, Walt Disney World and Disneyland should implement a minimum age rule to sit in the pilot seat on their Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction. He goes on to continue, that's the resolution for this week's hot take debate, a new feature I'm trying out here on Theme Park Insider. Okay. He said, basically he goes on to makes the case that, you know, it says here, while Disney created a ride system that distinguished multiple Falcon cockpits within the attraction, it still needed more people in each cockpit in order to reach an acceptable hourly capacity. So it added a third row and a third row of two seats, creating a gunner, engineer roles behind the pilot. Now, we've all been on Smuggler's Run, and it's an okay attraction. I don't think it's a bad one, but it's interesting. I mean, your experience is kind of determined as to who's your pilot. And I've been on here before. I've gotten like kids, like little kids, you know what I'm saying? Like little kids are piloting our Falcon, and we're bashing into things, crashing and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on this, Webber? Like, do you think that we should have an age limit? They should start checking these kids' IDs, you know? And so, like, no, I'm just kidding. What do you think? You think that like we should do that, or is this getting a little too, come on, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. You got to be a certain height. You got to have a license to fly. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
No, I disagree with this because one, like, here's the thing. I mean, like what you okay, guys, like this is pretty much in my eyes a attraction video game is what it is, right?
Right.
And so we're all here to have fun, and I know some people are competitive, which is fine, but if you want to be competitive and whatnot, get the best score, then try to go with your buddies or something, right? I know sometimes there's solo travelers like myself. I would go a lot, like all the time. There was even one time where I went by myself and I was the only person in the cockpit.
Oh,
you
wow.
know yeah, that was interesting. That was really interesting. But it's like, guys, like, here's the thing. It's not really fair to kick the kids out of the cockpit seat because here's the thing. Yes, we're all Star Wars fans, but think about like the new generation of Star Wars fans, right? I mean, imagine if you were a kid, right? You love Star Wars and you always wanted to pilot, a spaceship or like the Millennium Falcon, right? That's like a dream come true right there. So like, do you really want to take that away from the kids? And yeah, they're crashing and stuff, but guys, that's part of the fun. I mean, personally, when I'm on it, I think all the crashing is even way more fun than when we're just smoothly flying through everything. Because you have people screaming and laughing and stuff. It's great.
It's fantastic. And you have, like you said, Michael Webber, you have like, this is something like, okay, as an adult, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm old enough. I've been to Disneyland a bajillion times. I've even ridden this attraction a countless amount of times. But that kid, that child might be their first time riding this thing. And there's a special magic when it comes to, your childhood and experiencing stuff like this, they think it's real, things like that, right? It's just different, And why take that specialness away from a kid? I mean, that moment where he or she can pilot the Falcon, even if it's like the worst piloting ever, that moment might be something that sticks with that kid for their lifetime. Like that time when they were like 8 years old and they got to pilot that thing for the first time and they just felt so dope, so cool, so badass doing it. It's a special time. And it's like, who are we as adults to sit there and go, yeah, you're ruining my experience. It's like, for me, it's just like, it's so like, oh my God, like let the kid have fun. That's kind of how I see it. It's
Yeah.
not that serious. You don't win a prize. We're not trying to like, win and at the end of this, we all win $1 million or anything like that. It doesn't really matter. Like, let's get a little lighter with this and just not worry too much about it. That's kind of how I see it. Let the
Right.
kids have fun.
Exactly. And here's the thing too. I mean, I know like a lot of the fandom, especially us, in the older section, you know, a lot of the people don't like the sequel trilogy, but there's still like a lot of like boys or like little girls who love Rey, right? And she pilots this ship a lot, like a lot of the time. So so like, how awesome is it that the little girl who loves Rey also gets to pilot the Millennium Falcon, and she gets to pretend to be she's Rey, right? Or be in that universe, right? That's awesome. Like, do you want to take that away, like you were saying, OG? Take that experience away from them just because they're crashing into stuff? Like, guys, again, this is a rise distraction. It's not that serious. And for people who are taking that serious, you guys are going way too much. And I will say that over and over again on the top of a mountain on OG here, that you guys, it's relax, guys. It's just a distraction. Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you say go too much, I think that is an issue. I've talked about so many times on the channel. I do think this kind of like this culture of going all the time, multiple days a week, it doesn't affect everyone the same way. There's
Right.
people
Yeah.
who can do that and they're fine. A lot of times though, it does create kind of a jaded sort of thing, and it sort of you become very desensitized to the experience. It becomes like going to your local mall. Basically, it's not anything special. When Walt Disney created this place, Disneyland, and these parks, when he envisioned this stuff, I don't think he envisioned it to be utilized like that, like where you're going so much. I think the vision was more of an event situation for your family. Like, you go once a year, maybe you go for your birthday, things like that. Not like, your Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. It's like, I don't think Walt was really thinking that way. I really don't. And I think you kind of do ruin the magic a little bit. It's like, hey, look, dude, I love ice cream, or actually, hey, since the Italiano isn't with us today, I'll use the Italian references. I love cannolis, right? But if I had a cannoli every day of the week, the cannoli is no longer that special, right? It doesn't have that same impact as if I just treat myself now and then. And that's kind of how I feel about these parks. And anyone, look, you pay for your passes, you do your thing, you go as many times as you want. This is just OG's opinion. I do think it does create issues. And if you want to do it, that's all good. I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. This is my viewpoint. But I think that's part of what's going on here with this too, is like, we as fans go so much, and then you have this kid, this is maybe their first time doing it. And who are we to take that special experience away from them? It's kind of like, for the fireworks shows, like if I see a family behind me and they have a small kid, I'll let them come in front of me so that kid can have a better view of the fireworks. I've seen these things a million times. I'm in my 40s. Okay. I don't need the perfect spot. I'm not going to fight for the spot and I'm trying to get the better spot over the 8-year-old behind me. The 8-year-old can come in front and they can watch the fireworks. I'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
that's kind of how
exactly.
I see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think that leads into it though, right? Is I think as locals, again, not all of them, but the ones that are having this issue where you go so much that that you start to kind of take ownership of the park, right? Like, this is
Right.
my park, don't ruin my experience for me. I want things to be a certain way, right? And it's like, guys, this isn't your park. This is a park for everybody to enjoy, not just you, right? So you have to be mindful of everybody else who wants to experience this, and that's children included, guys. And it's like, I'm sorry, but Disneyland, Disney parks are going to have a bunch of kids. You can't just start, like saying no to kids for certain stuff just because you think it's going to ruin your perfect, like, attraction simulator experience.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think that if you want that perfect Falcon experience, and like you actually had a great solution to that, right? You go with your buddies. You go with, I don't know how many people does that thing sit? 6 people, I think.
Six, yeah. So two in the front, two for piloting, two gunners, two engineers.
Yeah. So you bring like, 5 or 6 of your buddies and you take it super freaking serious. and you're
Yeah.
in there, you're doing your thing or whatever, that's fine, but like to sit there and say, you know what, the kids are ruining the experience. We need to start doing age verifications, before you can be a pilot. Come on,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's ridiculous that we even have to have not Immunology, but like the community even has to have this debate. Like, I don't even know why that was even a thought in the first place. But
Right. No,
that's
I
just my
know. It's
opinion.
and this place is, there's that magic of like that, like I said earlier, there's like this the magic of childhood. And
Hmm.
that experience is gonna hit that kid differently than me in my 40s or you in your 30s. Let that kid have that special experience while they're young. You know what I'm saying? When that
Right.
kid turns 35 or 40, then that's a whole different experience. But like as a kid, you shouldn't take that away from a child. You should let them do that. That's been the argument actually for a lot of people for the look for Autopia, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people feel like the importance of that attraction is and it's a fair argument, honestly. The importance of Autopia is that it gives kids who can't drive yet the opportunity to have that experience. And honestly, if there's any argument to keep Autopia, that's the only one I could think of is for that
Yeah.
reason, really. Otherwise I think it's a total waste of space. But you do have to kind of protect this and let these kids have those special moments at these parks, because it stays with them forever. It's
It,
different.
Well, it is because that's the experience they have, and that they'll always have, and that's a memory that they can hold on to, right? Because as a kid, you're being molded and shaped from your experiences, right? And when you have something as magical as Disney, right? I mean, come on, you're a kid flying. You go to Galaxy's Edge, you see the huge, Millennium Falcon just sitting there, and you're like, I get to pilot that thing. Like, come on, for a kid, that's a dream come true, man.
Oh man.
And then you got all these old farts like us to being like, fighting over, oh no, like don't let kids on, oh you're ruining my experience, crashing into stuff. Like, come on.
Come on, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I want to ask you, Eva, because
Yeah.
the whole reason why we've been talking about this is because of the way this ride is set up, right?
Right.
And I've actually seen a lot of arguments on Twitter, fair arguments actually, about how this whole idea of this attraction doesn't really work though overall, right? Like, okay, this is the ride we have. So if we have this ride system, you should let kids be able to pilot. But a lot of people are arguing that this ride system maybe isn't the right way to go about it. Maybe we should just have a passive experience and maybe not have anyone pilot or do anything. It's maybe more like a Star Tours. And it's not as interactive. Would you support something like that? Or do you think the interactivity is lends to a more unique experience?
Well, it's okay. So see, I can see that argument, right? And if that's the case where they went more passive, which I would be fine with it if they went more with a more passive, but then I don't want to hear any excuses about why they can't change up the scenes, right, or the missions.
Right?
Because right now the excuse is pretty much because the way the ride is designed, the mechanisms is it's harder to, I guess, input that into the ride, right? Which I know I understand,
Right.
but I think another issue was just pretty much kind of how the ride is set up in general, right? Because how I would have liked to seen this thing just go full out Millennium Falcon, right? I know they have like it got utilize space, but it'd be awesome to where, and I talk to George about this all the time, is for the gunners, instead of pressing like a button, have a portion where it's like the Millennium Falcon. You go up a
Right.
ladder or down a ladder. You get in there, you got your gunner, right? You're shooting
So
it while the thing's flying, and I'm pretty sure everybody would be like fighting to get the gunner spot, right? Because that'd be super dope. And then for like little boys or even girls who want to shoot stuff, that'd be fun too.
yeah,
Um,
and that's
but
and that's and that's that you bring up a great point where they could have done that, right? Because right now when you go in, you enter the cockpit, right?
right,
But they could have had alternating like pods, so maybe like every other one. So you have a cockpit that you go into,
yeah,
and then the next one might be a gunner pod, and the next one is the cockpit again and the gunner pod. And so you just don't know what you're going to get, but like the whole pod would be the gunner thing or the whole pod would be the pilot. Might have worked better, because then you have that better experience as a gunner. It's more like hands-on as opposed to what it is now, like you're like on the wall pushing a button. It doesn't
right.
really.
Yeah, see, and if you're going to go, being a interactive experience, give us the interactive experience. Let me hold on to the handles of, of the gunner and being in the seat with the headset, right? I want to be it all.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I do think I think a passive experience could work because that way everybody can just watch, right? Just watch, because here's like when you're an engineer and you gotta, like screw around with the buttons, beep 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 beep, and you gotta find and press the buttons. Now I'm missing out what's on the screen, right? Now of course, someone who's been on it like a million times, I'm pretty quick with the buttons, right? Like it's really easy for me. I can still kind of watch. But for someone who's his first time, or they really come, right? It's kind of an annoyance for them, because now they have to concentrate doing this crap when they could be just watching what's happening on screen, whether you're crashing or you're flying through. But then it's like, okay, well then what happens with Star Tours then? Because I know, OG, that's a huge issue that I know you have, is like having Star Wars over there, and then now Star Wars over here, and now we have two simulator rides, right? So,
Well, and
I mean,
I actually been diagnosed. I've actually been like officially, like a few years ago, I was officially diagnosed with OCD. Like I actually have it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so it does bother me, like that the Star Tours ride is not in the Star Wars land. It drives me nuts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think for like the Falcon, I think another thing they could do is, I think that you can alter the experiences, and I understand they use the Unreal Engine. It's hard to update it or whatever. But if they could figure it out, it would be great, because what you could do is you can actually change eras of the Star Wars timeline. Maybe
Yeah.
one time you get in there and it's Han Solo talking to you with Chewie. Maybe another time you get in there and it's Hondo. Another time it's somebody else, or Rey, like that would be really, really dope. And instead we're stuck with the same mission, the same thing. If they mix it up a little bit, I mean, if they had like more randomized, this ride, honestly, I'm not even exaggerating. In my opinion, this ride can go from a D ticket to an E ticket if you just randomize the missions and you alter the eras of the Star Wars universe.
Well, and I actually have two things to say about that. I agree with you. If one, they, because I don't know, I'm gonna say this. People might disagree, which is fine. I feel that I get more emotion on Star Tours, like more motion movement that I feel on Star Tours than I do with Smuggler's Run. Even with all the crashing and stuff, I feel the when it moves, it matches the screen more on Star Tours than it does on Smuggler's Run.
Yeah.
Although with Star Tours 2.0, I feel like the original had that better. But anyways, and I think the other issue, OG, with Smuggler's Run is they're keeping that. Another thing that could be keeping them from changing it as well, right? The scenes is because isn't that attraction also like stuck like in the current like timeline for like the
Yeah.
sequel era?
Yep. It's in
Okay,
that
so
timeline.
right, so now you have a full audio animatronic Hondo, which I know a lot of people don't care for Hondo. I actually really like Hondo.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, okay, you have him there, right? So then are you gonna have him there for like OT stuff? With the attraction?
Right. That's the issue too now, because you have a physical animatronic based on this certain era, right?
Right, and that's where they screwed up while keeping it in a specific timeline. They shouldn't have done that with the land.
No, they shouldn't have. They got to figure this out. I mean, if they like, there's so many things they can do, and I wouldn't necessarily say they're easy things to do, but if they were to
No.
implement certain things, I think that it would drastically improve the overall experience, both for Smuggler's Run and the land itself.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so hesitant to go all in on multiple timelines for
Right.
whatever reason. I mean, we're getting a little dose of it here and there with like Boba Fett and Mando and stuff, but I want them to go
Yeah.
all in on it. I want to see Anakin freaking Skywalker in the land.
Okay, so I have a thing about that, right? So we all know that Star Wars Night is going on, right? I've already
Right.
expressed my feelings about it. Again, I've only went it once when that was when it first opened, so I know it's changed. Um, but here's my thing, right? How come we have Season of the Force and then Star Wars Night when all of that can pretty much just be in Galaxy's Edge? We have a 24-hour. We have a 7-day a week, 365-day Star Wars land. Why isn't that land just Season of the Force all year round?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of this stuff, like for like Star Wars Night, is a separate ticketed event, right? So it's
Yeah.
like they make money on that. So this is the problem too with
Yeah.
these ticketed events. I think they're cool,
Mhm.
but the problem with them is that they de-incentivize Disney to actually like for example, right? If you have Ewoks
Mhm.
for your Star Wars night, right? Well, you can't put your Ewoks for the everyday visitor because no one's going to pay for your Star Wars night. right? So it's like it de-incentivizes Disney to include this cool stuff in this because they want people to pay the upcharge thing. Now the
Right.
upcharge things are cool, but it does take away from the potential of the land for the rest of the day and the rest of the year. You
Yeah,
know?
and I think that by I know they gain financially, but I think for a guest experience, I think that really kind of sucks
Oh yeah.
because I guess you're stuck in this timeline. So people who aren't fans of the sequel trilogy, they want Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Princess Leia, Ewoks, Jawas. They want all this stuff, and we don't have any of that. I mean, now we're getting some Mando stuff and whatnot, right? But again, that's all from the kind of newer Disney Star Wars stuff that is in that kind of in between of OT and sequel trilogy.
Right.
So, I wonder if like just going forward, they're slowly going to start sprinkling stuff in like one at a time to the land, you know, because it's like, how come all this stuff is taking so long to be added to the land? I mean, like just right now, right? We finally got the music for the fireworks.
Yeah.
Finally,
Yeah.
it's like what took so long with to do that, and we still don't have like a full on 24 loop um Star Wars Galaxy's Edge music going on.
It's crazy. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I was watching. I haven't been to Star Wars Night. I haven't seen the fireworks. Right.
Mhm.
I've only watched it on YouTube.
Yeah,
And
I watched it too. It was cool.
it was dope. It was
Yeah.
super dope. And even through a screen, even watching it on YouTube, it changed the whole energy of that land with the Star Wars music, with John Williams is blasting.
Yes.
It
It's
was
awesome.
epic, dude. Can you imagine walking under those like little tunnels and hearing duh, the Star Wars theme song is blasting, and then you go into the park and it's like Duel of the Fates. I mean, it would be so sick, dude, and it would change the entire energy of that whole land.
Right. Well, see, because here's the thing: is that the reason why I'm such a big proponent, right, on having music going throughout the land OG is because of this simple thing. When I go to Disneyland, all right, or Disney Park, or even Universal, right, when we're there, we're hearing the music, right, them bumping the Universal music, right. I want to feel like I walk into a place of fantasy that I'm now out of everyday ordinary life. Because in everyday life, unless you listen to like your headphones, you don't hear music,
No.
right? So when I go to like a place like Galaxy's Edge, I want to feel like I'm in the world of Star Wars. When I go to Fantasyland, I want to feel like I'm like in a fantasy type of land or whatever, right? Like with like the music from Peter Pan and Alice playing and stuff like that, right? That's why I want to feel like I'm actually in that land. But when you try to make this authentic thing of like kind of real life in Galaxy's Edge, you hear birds and spaceships, and I'm like, okay, well, I still don't feel like I'm really in a Star Wars place. It's cool aesthetics. I like the ships and the sound effects, but I want to feel like I'm actually in it because I want to feel like I'm not in the real world anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They went. You remember what I said earlier? Like what we both said earlier, actually, about how some fans take the Millennium Falcon attraction too seriously, right? We can't have
Yeah.
kids in the pilot seat, It's kind of like Disney overall took the whole land too seriously. It's like,
Yeah.
we have to make it super ultra realistic. We can't have any music because if you lived in that universe, obviously there's not going to be music. So they went too real with it. Like
Mhm.
you have a little bit of fantasy in there where you can just have fun with it, have that music. I would love that. I would love to have alien like roaming bands, you
Dude,
know,
yes, that'd be cool. Right?
right?
That'd be dope, dude. Come on.
Come on, that would be so sick. I mean, that would change the energy, So there's so much they can really
Yeah.
do.
Or also, you know what they could do too, right? Because I think it's really impressive what Universal's able to do with like their was it like their Megatron, I think, and like their Velociraptor they have, I
Oh
think it's blue at
yeah.
Universal, right? How come we can't have, or like the Triceratops? How come we can't have those kind of uh things, or I don't know what you call them, characters, but for like banthas or something, right? That'd be so cool, just like walking around,
Oh
like these
dude,
big Star Wars animals.
absolutely. Like the Megatron at Universal's dope, dude. That thing is
Yeah,
so dope.
that's so
And,
cool.
yeah, and it moves around so fluidly,
Hmm.
and it's blasting. That's the one thing I love about Universal. I will say this is like no matter what they do, everything is like cranked up to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Megatron, whether it's just the music, when you're doing the bags check, security check to get into the park, it doesn't
On your
matter
face.
what it is. everything is cranked all the way up. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's dope. That's really, really dope. We're actually
Yep.
going to go there in a few days. That'd be fun.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. Oh, so excited. So excited.
It's
um,
going to be sick.
but yeah, so with Smuggler's Run, it's unfortunate because that attraction opened first before Rise, and everybody thought this was going to be a great ride, right? Like everybody thought Rise was going to be some like little crappy kind of like secondary ride,
Right.
but it's actually the reverse. And
Yeah.
I remember I was watching channels when Smuggler's Run first opened, and they're like, yeah, it's good or it's okay, I'll go on it, but it's nothing spectacular, and there was actually some disappointment because it's a brand new land and it's another kind of, motion simulator ride, and
Right.
Star Wars, we already have Star Tours, right? And on top of the, you're pressing the button to shoot stuff and then you have to mess with the buttons for the engineering. So I don't know. I think they could have went a different route. Definitely, kids absolutely should be allowed to be pilot, gunner, engineer, whatever they want.
Absolutely.
Let the kid choose. This is their dream come true. But that's just how I see it as me personally. And I tell everybody this: if I go with someone for the first time, if they're doing something, I love to experience it through their eyes.
Yes, absolutely. That's the way that's the best feeling. Taking like a first timer to Disney is like an
Mhm.
unreal experience.
Right? Now I know like that I don't have any kids, but like I know if I took my brother on it, oh man, I know the joy he would have, just moving that ship around, and I would be to, experience that through him, right? I get to enjoy watching him enjoy the attraction, and it would just be amazing. So I don't know why all these people on this Twitter or wherever in the community are complaining about this. Like, people, let the kids enjoy the ride, man.
Let them have fun. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And
Yeah.
especially if you're a local and you're
Oh
going
yeah.
and you're going multiple times a week, like geez, oh my gosh, like let the kid have fun. You're here like, 3 days a week. Like it's crazy to me that like, that's why I said like with fireworks and things like that, like I'm not gonna like fight over a spot. Like if there's a kid behind me they can't see, I'll let the kid go in front. Like, come on,
Right.
this is their one time to see this thing. Maybe they're a family from like Colorado, or
Colorado.
shout out to Jay Shear, shout
Jay
out to
Shear,
Jay Shear.
buddy.
But like, maybe they're from Utah or Japan, or
Yeah.
let them experience it. I mean, we're there all the time. We can come back in tomorrow. Not that serious.
No,
It really is.
it's
But you
not.
know what? But oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
I was like, guys, it's a theme park. We're all there to have fun. I know we all love Disney to our hearts, we all do, but guys, it's not that serious.
It's not that serious, right? Yeah, exactly, 100%. Well, that's the thing with this. Oh, dude, speaking of not that serious, people are people are like flipping out over this Pixar Fest stuff, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, okay, and I get it. Like some of the stuff looks pretty cool, right?
Mhm.
Cool. Some of it's pretty ugly. There's no denying it. Some of it is pretty ugly. But here's the thing. It's temporary. It's temporary.
Right.
How are we all mad over something that's gonna be gone in a few months, right?
Yeah. No, no, I no exactly. And here's the thing, like, so here's the thing. My problem isn't with any of this stuff, like the Pixar stuff, right? My kind of question, I guess you could say, right? Because again, I'm not pissed off. I'm not mad. I'm not irate, throwing my hands up, like wanting to fight people and stuff. But my question, but my question is just like, Pixar Fest is going on now, right? It's currently going on, or is it about to start?
It's about to start. I don't think it started officially yet, but soon.
Okay. I don't know because my question is like that. It seems like they're cutting it pretty close of still putting stuff up close to the Pixar Fest
Yeah.
date. So I'm just thinking, should you guys have gotten that done a little bit sooner? But
Well, there's been some confusion too because earlier today they installed those like I don't know if you saw them. They were only up for a little bit, like those ribbons,
oh yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and now they're gone already.
yeah. I was like, what was up with that?
They took them down. So either they're having problems with them or what, or maybe they
Yeah.
didn't like the way they looked. I mean, they were okay. I mean, okay, but I don't know what that's about. I mean, I'm sure they'll come back. I'm assuming, but that was weird.
Well, the other weird thing too is that I saw some people I saw on Twitter, and someone mentioned it before that they do it every year, I guess, or whatever. But someone on Twitter said that it was bad show. I forgot who it was, but it was because how Disney, they put stuff up, a lot of stuff there goes up overnight, right?
Right.
Because you don't want to see any of the magic happen. Well, it seems like with like a lot of this Pixar Fest stuff, a lot of that magic has been happening in front of your eyes with with workers like moving stuff that's supposed to be backstage, like like through the park, or like those ribbons, you're putting them up, and now they're down. Like what is happening, guys? What are we doing? Again,
Yeah.
I'm not pissed off or irate or anything. I'm just like, this is like a kind of a big question mark for me. Like, huh?
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, that is really weird that they would put them up, take them down. There was at DCA the
Yeah,
last
DC,
day of
yeah.
food and wine. That
That's,
big sign.
yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they were rolling it out like when people were there. You know,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm like, guys, what are we doing?
it's like you go to someone's house, right, and they're having like a big party.
Yeah.
And they're starting to clean stuff up and take down all the decorations. Like, are you trying to say something? Should I go home?
I get out.
You don't got to go home, but got to get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
You
As
know?
opposed to now, kick rocks.
Get out of here. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, but with the Pixar stuff though, I mean, okay, so I want to say something that I think I said in the DMs, I believe. Right. So Pixar Fest, I don't have a problem with it, right? Whether it's gorgeous or ugly, I don't really care because it's all temporary, right?
Yeah.
Like you said. Here's my thing is I want to go over to the possible Disneyland Forward stuff real quick about, let's say if we get a Toy Story Land, which I do not want at all at Disneyland Resort. Okay, so my kind of concern is, okay, so we have Pixar Pier, and then if we get a Toy Story Land, and if the Disneyland Resort is still doing a Pixar Fest thing,
Oh,
I don't know.
geez.
To me, that feels like too much Pixar at that point. If that is the direction that they're going to go, what do you think about that?
I completely agree. You got to diversify the portfolio. You can't have everything because you have, like you said, you have two Pixar attractions. Well, you have Midway Mania at DCA and the whole pier, like you said.
Yep.
Then you go to Disneyland, you got Buzz Lightyear.
Mhm.
Then you're at a Toy Story Land, and then you're going to have like the seasonal Pixar Fest. I'm assuming this is going to be a semi-regular thing because we had one in 2018. We're having it again. I'm assuming it'll show up again eventually. It's a little much. I love Pixar. I do love Pixar, but it's just and I don't mind the event. I just think that it's just a lot going on with Pixar. I'd like to see some other properties, like even with the Pixar parade, right? As cute as it is, I would have liked to see, preferably at DCA, a Marvel parade with like a giant Hulk float and like, let's do something a little different because DCA has had Pixar parades for so long. I remember Block Party Bash back in the day. I mean, this is like years and years ago. I mean, it's always been a Pixar thing. I would like to see some other properties that kind of relate to California Adventure utilized in these parades, not only Pixar.
Well, actually, OG, I'll take it a step further. I would say that I would love to see at DCA just more parades in general of different kinds, because Disneyland gets all the love in like shows of like everything pretty much. So I would love to see DCA get more parades in general, but also more just variety of parades. Not just Pixar. Like because we get Pixar everything in DCA, right? It's almost like Pixar Adventure over there. But I would love to see them get more parades and a more variety of type of parades.
Don't put that into the universe, Pixar Adventure, please. Could you imagine, bro?
well, here's the thing, man. Instead of DCA, it's going to be DPA, Disney Pixar Adventure.
There you go, right? Exactly. And, Bob Iger's going to be like, yeah, but we got to throw Avatar in there. We'll have Woody on a Banshee.
Woody on a Banshee. That's fucking.
Oh man, that synergy, man. That's that flywheel,
Oh my god, yes, bro. Oh shit.
No, it's hilarious, but yeah, interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. One thing though that kids can pilot the Falcon, but one thing we cannot have piloting the Falcon are drunk Chewies. There you go. No drunk Chewies piloting the Falcon. Keep it safe.
No drunk Chewies. No drinking and flying, people. Okay, stay safe.
Stay safe. Stay safe. Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, it was a pleasure and an honor talking shop with you today. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely, OG. And again, thank you for having me on. This was a pleasure. And also talking about this topic, you can find me on all three platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Mr. Webba at Webslinger760.
Yes. And Webba is going through a rebranding, which is dope. He's got some dope graphics on his like Twitter and stuff like that. So make sure you check it out. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody home, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below with your opinions on should they start to put an age limit on the Falcon. What are your thoughts on just Star Wars in general at the parks? You know, in the terms of timeline for Galaxy's Edge, things like that. What are your thoughts on? Oh God, man, got a frog in my throat. What are your what are your thoughts on Pixar Fest and how they're handling that, and Pixar in general in the parks? We would love to hear from you. Comment down below, and as always, have a wonderful day.
Like iced tea, I'm OG. Like iced tea, I'm OG. Like iced tea, I'm OG. I'm demon like IT. Got more juice than high C.